Okay. Basically, I'm going to look today at two different kinds of things. One, I'm going to look at some of the standout performers from UFC Philadelphia. And then two, we're going to answer a basic question. At least we're going to try to answer a basic question, namely, what are the chances that Justin Gaethje would pose a strong challenge to Khabib Nurmagomedov? Now, there's very little information actually to work with, but there are some things that you can point to, and so we're going to do that. So, UFC Philadelphia over the weekend, there were some winners, there were some losers, as there always are. What lessons can we infer? Well, it depends on the fight, of course. Here are the fights we're going to look at from that event over the weekend. And folks might be asking, what about the one new era card? There were some great fights on there. You could have looked at the Demetrius Johnson guillotine. It was pretty interesting, but I was kind of leaning a bit of a different direction. And obviously, Eddie Alvarez did not prevail, but the gentleman who beat him was actually pretty good. Anyway, point being is, I just felt like this was better for some of the things that I was trying to set up for this particular segment. So, let's do this. Let's jump right to the slides if we can. So this is the first of two fights we're going to look at. We're going to look at three, but the first of two quick ones we're going to look at. There's Paul Craig on the bottom. There is this gentleman, I cannot pronounce his last name properly. Please forgive me. Kennedy is his first name. In any event, Paul Craig was pulling guard, and I actually noted on Twitter at the time, you know, he was doing this in the first round where he was grabbing a hold of him, pulling guard, and then he had a pretty active, nimble guard. And I thought to myself, ordinarily inside MMA, pulling guard is not a great idea, but there can be moments where you can make it work. If you have a quick, active hips, good guard, you can switch between full, half, Z, knee shield, the whole bit. You might be able to make something work. And if your opponent on top doesn't really have command on the knowledge of that space about when to go chest to chest, when not to go chest to chest, and they have unusually long arms. His arms are 83-inch reach, right? I'm not sure what mine would be. They're pretty long, right? They're pretty long too, but he's got an 83-inch reach. That's just one less than John Jones. So he has a formidable size, which means if you can create the right contexts, those arms are going to be really exploitable. If you have long arms like that, you're going to have to be really nice and tight on the inside. And if you want to come over the top, you have to come over the top and then quickly feed back in to appropriate defensive positions, which he did not necessarily do. Now remember, as I mentioned with all of these Monday morning analysts, everything I present to you is not necessarily the best. It's certainly not the only one, not the most complete. I say this every time, and I will continue to. I encourage you to seek out what other analysts might have to say, and then develop a broader understanding as a consequence, and make up your own mind about what you saw. All right, so here we are. We have him on top, Mr. Kennedy. Again, please forgive my ignorance on this one. He is on top in half guard, and you see Paul Craig underneath. I want to show you a couple things here, right? So you see he's got the elbow here, and he's kind of like, it's nice and high. Paul Craig actually could go deep half here if he wanted to. He could reach under, and then he could rotate his body and get underneath. Again, on jiu-jitsu, you want to flatten somebody or you want to get underneath them so you can raise them up, because if you can raise them up, then you can manipulate them to a side. All right? So you see it looks to me like he was going for deep half, and then he kind of bumps a little bit, decides to abandon it, pulls back in, so he is no longer attempting that. And you're going to see this. Okay, here you're chest to chest. There are certain things you can do and certain things you can do. That's true with passing. It's true with control. It's true with ground and pound. But once you create space, you have to be aware that you have now changed the dynamic of your interaction. You have allowed room to be here. That's not necessarily wrong. In fact, it might be the best strategy, particularly if you want heavy ground and pound. But if you're going to do that, you have to recognize that you are creating some certain vulnerabilities that won't necessarily be there if you're chest to chest. Paul Craig recognizes this right away, and with this extra room, you're going to see the following. He comes back down for a second. It's a nice elbow. It's two nice elbows. He rolls here to his left. All right, I want you to pay attention here. And then watch this left knee. He gets it on the inside of the hip and then decides to push and almost goes for an underhook here, although you can see Kennedy try to wrap over the top of it to stop it, it looks like a little bit here, and flatten him back out. But he gets that knee inside, yeah? And that knee inside allows him to push off and then center his hips. So it's okay if you want to come up, and maybe you don't mind working from someone's full guard. But if I'm in Paul Craig's full guard, I'm going to know that this guy is a submission threat quite literally until the final bell. That is not an exaggeration. Probably not the best idea to let him recenter. If you're going to open up your space like that, that's okay, but recognize there might be some things you have to do as a consequence to prevent that from happening, and he doesn't. And so, by giving him space to land his own shots, he also allowed Paul Craig to get back and recover guard. So now he has full guard. It's a bit of a problem, and he's on his knees against the fence. There's no passing here. I think it was, did you guys see Marina Moroz versus Sabina Mazo? Marina Moroz was on her knees in Mazo's full guard, and she pushed down the left side to pass. I'm not saying you can't pass from your knees. I'm just telling you, you basically can't pass from your knees. You got to be on your feet. You got to be on your feet against anybody good. Now, I'm not saying he was trying to pass here. I'm just sort of pointing that out. You got to be on your feet. Once you're on your feet, you can push on the legs and you can get your knee in for the knee cut. There's all kinds of things. You can achieve the proper inside position, the whole bit. So now he's sitting sort of back on his heels a little bit here, and I want you to pay attention to something here. Here, let's look at this real quickly. This, boys and girls. Let me make a point here. Anybody who's ever trained will be like, yep, you right, Luke, you right. Grips. He who controls the grips controls the fight. That looks like nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the fight was won and lost. Right here. Not necessarily this moment of gripping, but gripping. It's especially true in the gi, but people think it's not true in no-gi. It is true in every combative art. He who has the grip controls everything. Gripping is the world. Gripping matters more than I can possibly communicate. Anybody who's trained judo will tell you, look at how good they are at attacking grips and stripping grips. They're amazing at it because once you set up those gripping attacks, you're going to send someone for a ride. In jiu-jitsu, if someone has a nice inside, grab on your gi and they're pulling you, you're going to get bow and arrow depending if they're on the back. You can get cross choked. You can get collar dragged. You can get sucker dragged. You can get it's everything. I can take the excess of here and then behind the elbow, and I can bring it across, and now you're going to get armbarred or you're going to get your back taken. Even in no-gi, if I can control your wrists, or in wrestling, if I can control your wrist, if I have a collar tie, I am gripping up on you. I am setting up all the attacks. Students of the world, if somebody grabs your lapel in jiu-jitsu, if somebody grabs your wrist, if somebody does a collar tie, you got to break that. You got to break that. You got to pop the grips off. You have to address those grips, because if you don't, everything will go from bad to worse like that. Like that. If you have an experienced competitor and you have an experienced gripper, you are going to be in trouble. You must address it. He does not address it, and he pays for it dearly as a consequence. Okay? Now, he's a new fighter. He's only got 7 or 8 fights. He'll figure this out. The guy is obviously scary talented, okay? But this was just a guy knowing that he had a bit of an advantage in these particular moments. So he controls this left grip, and you don't really see. Now, he brings his arms in together on the ribs. That's fine, although you can get armbarred if you're not careful, but it's not the end of the world. And he pulls them back out. Okay, that's a nice way to address it. And usually, by the way, if in jiu-jitsu, if I pop someone's grip off my sleeve, I'm going to keep that sleeve. I don't pop it and then let it go. I pop it and then I grab it, right? I pop it and then I'll arm drag or whatever, or then I'll grab a lapel. And now I'm shaking you, You don't just pop it and let it go. Now I'm the gripper, yeah? So anyway, he's taking a bit of a beating here, but you can see Craig goes right back to the grip. Right back to the grip, yeah? And he's gripping and he's gripping. You can see him holding it this whole time. And you don't really see him addressing it. I think he felt like it wasn't a big thing. So what if he has my grip? You must address grips. When they put it on, pop it. When they put it on, pop it. When they put it on, pop it. All the time. You must win the gripping battle. I cannot be clearer about this. It is key to the universe, okay? So he's not, and I want you to pay attention here. Look what he does. He gets inside knee position. So it looks like he could be setting up a number of different things here on that right side, right? Kids of the world, do you know what this sweep is called? This is called a scissor sweep. You learned this maybe on your first day of jiu-jitsu. Doesn't mean you can't use it on a high-level competitor, but I just want to point out here, he does it a little differently than I've ever done it. The way I was taught was you actually want to pull their weight on top of your knee so that, again, how does any sweep work? You block one side and then you take them to that, and typically you have to lift them off of their base. So the way I was taught this one was you pull them onto you, on top of your shin, and then you block whatever side they're going to. In this case, you'd block that side. That's where that grip comes into play. And then that side just, and it's called a scissor sweep because, like that, right? So watch, he just scissor sweeps him over like that. Folks, it's a basic, but it works. Now he can't come to his base quick enough, as you can see, but he wasn't trying to. So he's trying to set up the triangle because he knows the reaction is if I send you over and I don't come up on top, you're going to think, aha, sure, he swept me, but he didn't come up on top. I need to get back on top. He waits for you to come back on top, and then he tries to lock in the triangle. Now put up the thumbnail. It wasn't successful. He actually pulls out of it. Okay, you can put it back. So here he is back to full guard, but that was a nice attempt from Paul Craig. All right, and he knows there are certain things he can do, and Kennedy will not necessarily address them right away, including, but not limited to, the gripping. By the way, when he goes over the top like this and he pins his own elbow to his body, that's another form of gripping. It's not gripping with the hands, but I'm gluing you to me. I'm controlling your wrists and your arms, yeah? Like that. And he pulls it out. That's nice. But Craig still has that left-handed grip. Look at that. So what he does is he pushes off with this right leg. Watch him. He gets the inside knee position. Looks like he goes for another scissor sweep. This time, Kennedy plants his weight. No problem. Look at that. Wow, right? What is he controlling? Grips. Grips. I'll say it again. Gripping is everything. Gripping, gripping, gripping. Everyone who has never trained, and I'm not an expert, but everyone who's never trained thinks this is everything, right? And that's great. That is everything. Gripping. Gripping wins. Lack of gripping loses 99 times out of 100. So he extends him and opens him up. What do you think happens next? Whoop, and then brings him back down. This is the same thing. And by the way, I want you to pay attention to something. Look here. When he brings this right knee to the inside, watch what it does. It actually covers the left arm there of Kennedy, so he can not only push him away, he can block him as well. So now Kennedy can't reach in and grab that left leg and push it down and then maybe pass. He blocks all of that by doing it all at once and then locks up the triangle. You can put the thumbnail up. And of course, he flipped him on top. And he actually stayed crunched when he flipped him. Did you guys notice that? I think he was like trying to like pull in everything together. Gripping, ladies and gentlemen, gripping. All right. So then, here we go, blah, blah, blah. We go to the next one that I thought was kind of interesting. Here we go very quickly. Put it up. Here you have David Branch and Jack Hermanson. This was really nice. This one caught me by surprise. He goes for a shot. I don't think he was actually trying to shoot. You notice he doesn't even knee pound here. He just kind of bends over at the waist. You have David Branch stuffing it. So now when he stuffs it, though, he's got an underhook and I think an overhook on the other side. Yep. So now they're 50-50, but if they're reacting and you're aggressing, you can usually be the next person to sustain the attack, which he is. And you see him put the leg out there to turn him, right? And David Branch hangs on, he plants, but he's still in motion. So a lot of times what you see in wrestling is, I'll take him one way, they block, I'll take him the other. Hermanson does something kind of interesting where he takes him one way and he realizes it doesn't work, so he just doubles down on it and does it again. And this time, you can see, look how far apart their hips are. If we're to get, well, let's go back and look. Oops. Look here. They're close together-ish. He's still bent, but there's not too much space, right? So he's able to, like, hold on. Now he's got that overhook and that underhook. And by the way, he's steering him like a bus wheel, right? Look how far he is away now. He's just going to big brother him and then block aside and then throw him to that side. It's the same thing as a sweep. Look, You're blocking aside, lifting them off of their base, and turning them. Whoop, and he goes right down. Pretty nice, right? Now, David Branch does this bit where you can see he's got this elbow on the inside position. He rolls away. You have a choice when someone's got you on side control. You can roll into them with an underhook, and you can roll away. To me, and everyone's different. I've never found a whole lot of success rolling away, but you see a lot of guys do it in the UFC, so I can't say that it's wrong. Again, if it works, it's right. I mean, it just kind of is. But I've just seen more. I just think it's safer to go on the inside. Now, you can still get guillotined that way, but if you go away, you can still get guillotined as well. Put the thumbnail up, please. Actually, never mind. You don't have to. It's okay. I apologize for that. You can go back. So you see him look here. This is the whole key. He looks like he's trying to set it in. Always want to set the near side hook first. You see a lot of guys kind of do it the other way. Again, if you get away with it, you get away with it. But Ryan Hall one time told me that he was like near hook first all the time. Okay. So here's what he does. Looks like he's going to sink that near hook, but he just really is occupying the space with his knee. Then he's going to switch the grips like that, right? And he's going to hold that position. And then David Branch kind of goes to this place to kind of reset, get on his hands and knees. Who does this setup where it looks like they're taking the back and then they go for the same side arm in guillotine? Pedro Munoz has the best one of these. This was kind of telegraphed. Pedro Munoz can do everything, including the hook, all the way in and then switch. He is the man at this. Shouts to Pedro Munoz. I think he did it in the Russell Doan fight. Go and check that out. He had a nasty setup just like this one. Looks like he's taking the back and then he switches for a guillotine the other way. So you can see what he's done here. He's already wrapped inside. He's got the knee protecting the space. When he sits, remember, if I'm going to guillotine you on this side, I want to be on this hip. I can't guillotine you if I'm up in the air. I got to be on that side. So he goes to that side. He just pulls him down like this. He just weighs on him like a cannonball. Branch instinctually, I think, reacts by grabbing the fence, but he lets go. It doesn't matter anyway. Now, I'm not very familiar in practice with the arm-in, same-side guillotine. I don't know exactly how the mechanics of that might change. Typically, if you're going to be choking on the left side, you want to be on your left hip. He's a little flatter on his back, but that might be a consequence of having that arm in the way he does. I don't know. So I will admit that that's a limit of my knowledge. That's something I'm not very familiar with in practice at all. But it doesn't really matter because he gets the tap there. Nice work from Jack Hermanson. But the point being is he fakes like it's a back take and then just switches the grip behind the head and then just sits out. All right, nicely done. Okay, put the thumbnail up and then we'll get into the Justin Gaethje stuff. Just wanted to show you that because I thought it was really nice. All right, so we'll file through this here pretty quickly so we can make time for everything else today on the show. God, there's never enough time, is there? All right, let's go up here. So now let's look at Justin Gaethje and how he fought Edson Barboza. Not going to mince words. Gripping is important in this one too, and you're going to see it when he gets his grips. It's a different kind of grip, but it's still a grip. I'm going to hold you in place, and I'm going to hold an appendage or some other kind of extremity to keep you where I want to keep you. And he uses it for a different purpose, but I said at the beginning of this, and I will keep saying it, gripping. Today's lesson is gripping. Gripping, gripping. You'll see schools or guys will spend an hour just grip fighting because gripping is everything, all right, in any event. All right, so how did he win? Look, a lot of this doesn't need to go into great detail. He uses a lot of the basics. Forward pressure. By the way, I was really impressed by him. Folks were like saying, oh, he fought smart this time. Yo, he fights smart every time. He also fights recklessly every time, but it's never one or the other. You're going to see in this is much more of a thoughtful guy. On initial exits from attacks from Barboza, he was exiting in these concerted motions far enough away and in a circular manner to not get caught. That sounds like nothing. I can't tell you how many UFC fighters at a high level don't do that. He does it. Small stuff like that. But in any event, forward pressure, right? High guard, where he does a lot of, you guys ever noticed, he has a high guard like this and he kind of protects himself. He does a lot of bending over at the waist to duck and dodge too. I'm surprised he doesn't get hit with more knees, although Eddie Alvarez finally got him because he does a lot of this the whole time, right? But it works to just sort of pressure forward, high guard. You saw Anthony Pettis do something relatively similar. He keeps a high pace where he's doing a lot of frequent output. He doesn't take a lot of breaks in a fight, which I believe is sort of like a speed chess, which, you know, maybe you're better at chess, but if I'm better at speed chess, where you're kind of on a clock, I can force you into mistakes. And a lot of cage cutting. You guys all saw this. Anthony Pettis, we saw last week, would pressure into him and then follow. He does not follow. He cuts you off and then drives into you, right? So all the classics are there. Those don't really need a whole lot of explanation. Here was interesting that I thought. He employs entry points 2 ways, with stance switching and leg kicks. This is the point I've been trying to make about Justin Gaethje. Oh, Justin's a wild man. He's super reckless. Yeah, sometimes he is. Sometimes he is the most reckless man I've ever seen. He does not get credit enough for some of the trickery that he does. He did a lot of stance switching because he realized he can trade leg kicks with Barboza all day long. Probably not going to be a great way to win. He has beaten guys with leg kicks, but think about Justin Gaethje's best offense. Where does it come from? The mitts, right? That's really what he does. When he puts them hands on you, it's Armageddon, right? That's what it is. So that's what he's always trying to find, is a way to, soften you up, hurt you with the leg kicks, so he can get into a nice enough range to pop you. He does it with stance switching is one way, which we'll show. And the other one is leg kicks. Not only does he throw leg kicks to slow you down and soften you up, which allows him to pressure, when you leg kick him 2 ways. One, he'll lean his leg out in an angular way to continue the motion. Or what he'll do is he'll leg kick you in circle, and then he'll let you leg kick him, and he'll take a small step back and then pressure forward very quickly. So whereas before he'd have big retreats, if you leg kick him, he'll have a small retreat and then a nice forward pressure. 3, finding the grips or hangers. This was the key to everything. What he would do is he would stance switch his way inside a lot of times, and then he would find it, and from the left side, he would throw a shot. Often it wouldn't land. Sometimes it did. Often it wouldn't land, but what would he do? Collar tie. He'd have a collar tie, and then he would ball up the fist. And like I said in the word of Vinny Paz, it's Armageddon when he balls up the fist, right? Crushes him. And then the other one is hangers. We've seen before where, guys will throw a shot, and he'll kind of have he'll block that way, and then he'll use that to regrip on you. Gripping. And then he'll pick his spots in clinch or pockets. I have noticed that, I went back and I watched some of his other fights. When guys brawl with him, they're doing a lot of wild stuff. He is too sometimes, but he's much more about throwing, you throwing, and then he picks his spots in the middle of it, right? He has moments in the middle of these exchanges where he waits a second, reads it, and then pops you to get cleaner shots off, right? Okay, so with that in mind, by the way, real quickly, just want to point this out. I was looking at how guys have certainly beat him before. God, I'm so running short on time. Long story short is, look here. These are the 2 places he does work. He obviously never goes to the ground. This is a relatively common scenario, 60-40 for him. This is the one you want to pay attention to. He is a headhunter who throws leg kicks at about this clip, maybe 2-to-1, something like that, with body shots in between. Here's what I've noticed. Anytime he is outside of the teens on leg kicks, anytime he is outside of the teens, he doesn't lose fights. In the 2 fights with Alvarez and Poirier, he was inside the teens. If you can do other things through motion or pushing him back where he can't get that off, he can't get the other stuff off as easily, okay? So with that being said, let's take a look at, here, you put the thumbnail back up very quickly. Very quickly. Woo! I could have designed this better, and I didn't, because I slept 2 hours last night. But what else is new, gang? All right. Jesus Christ. Da-da-da-da-da. Why did I put all this extra in here if I wasn't going to use any of it? I am a stupid, stupid man. Hang on. Okay. Okay, you go ahead. We're back very quickly. Here we are, very early. You can't quite, it's blurry, but it'll get better. 4:41, we're here. Let's just watch this for a second. I'll tell you what he does. Boom, he eats a low leg kick, right? Look how he stays in position and then pushes you back. You can say, oh, look, everyone does that. No, they don't. When he kicks you and you try to react, he gets way out of the way. Here he just kind of eats it and drives forward. You see he kind of feints stutter steps, and then he goes to the body, and he does this a lot. He'll go to the body or the head, and he ducks a lot, right? He doesn't slip, exactly. He ducks a lot. Just keep that in mind, okay? And then he gets out of the way. You can see then he does a big retreat, all right? So we'll point out, like, you can see how fast he can close the distance. If you don't kick and then exit, if you kind of just kick and stay, he'll be right on top of you, man. You got to, like, one of the reasons Dustin Poirier won was high output. The other reason was, dude, he was on his horse constantly, and he was making Gaethje turn a lot. If Gaethje can come in straight lines, he can do good work. If he's having to turn a lot to follow you, he can't quite get off. No one can. No one can get off quite as much. Barboza comes in a lot of straight lines. He does angle some, but not like Poirier. Poirier is doing a lot of touch, throw a heavy shot, circle. He was switching stances, hitting him, doing a dart. He was just constantly in motion, which didn't allow him to get the leg kicks off, and then yada, yada, yada. All right, so you get the idea. Here he is. He fakes a shot, right? He doesn't really, looks like a knee tap he's going for. Barboza stuffs it, and he throws a hand here, and he misses. But I want to point out, look at the left hand right up here. He's trying to find different ways so he can get that left-handed collar tie, okay? And it doesn't work this time, but we're just 20 seconds in. Here we are just a few seconds later. You can see he ducks again, kind of jabs to the body. That's a nice shot. That's a nice shot from Edson Barboza, boy. That one must have hurt. Here's the problem. He stays in the pocket because you want to throw more than one shot, and the left hand from Gaethje doesn't land. But you know what it does do? It stays as a collar tie. Here's his grip. There's your grip. Gripping. It's not all the same kind of gripping, but now I can control you. And what do you think happens next? Bang. Bang. I love that shot. He comes underneath and then over the top. He doubles up on right side attacks even outside of dirty boxing. Pretty amazing. And then he follows up here. Excuse me. Right? Barboza kind of attacks. And look at Gaethje just waiting. Bink. Bink. Oh, look at that. And he's overcommitting a little bit. Keeps the left hand on you. That's not a grip, but it often has a similar function. Now, he does get, you can see, look, there's the hanger. I was telling you about before. He's just kind of hanging out there, acts as a blocking mechanism, right? Boom. And then he kind of gets him in the eye here a little bit. So I feel bad for Edson Barboza. He did get legitimately poked. All right, let's move along on this one. Here we are a little bit later, or a minute later. This is no big deal. He gets that left hand. Gaethje is so good at getting out of these clinch spots. Barboza was trying to turn him this way. Watch Gaethje go inside. This is just straight up wrestling. And he's just going to shuck him by like that. There's more to the story, but we're running out of time. All right, so that's nice. All right, here we are again, about 10 seconds later. Throws a kick, misses. Now this time he resets a little bit. Comes forward, hands high, fakes and feints, jabs. Tries to hold on, ducks out of the way, can't quite get it, but you can see where he's heading with that. He wants to hang on. 10 seconds later, same thing. Here he is, stutter stepping his way inside. Now watch, he's in an orthodox stance here. He fakes the right so he can switch stances, bang on the left. Then he wants to hold you with that same grip, bang on the right. So I'm talking about people like Justin Gaethje, he's just a wild animal. Okay, he is a wild animal. Dude, he's a thoughtful, good fighter. He's a thoughtful, good fighter, and he deserves credit as much. And he goes after him here, like this. Boom. All right, here we are. We're near the beginning of the end. He's following him here, yeah? He gets right, takes center, cage cutting. We talked about that at the beginning. He eats the shot. This is what I'm talking about. He'll do this one where he brings his heel up to his rear end, and he stays in motion. You see that? He didn't take a step back. He didn't circle. He didn't even stop. Stays in motion. Now, that's just a little bit of just true grit. And now look where they are. They're on the warning track, which we talk about all the time on the show. Takes another step, throws the right hand. Again, it's boxing range where he does all his good work. You want to beat Justin Gaethje, you got to beat him either in this range or remove this range, right? And this is my favorite. Look at his stance. This is an orthodox stance, right? It's an orthodox stance. Throws the right hand, switches, boom. This is the same kind of shot that Anderson Silva dropped Forrest Griffin with. There it is. He goes from orthodox, right foot comes forward. Now he's a southpaw fighter. Boom, catches him on the exit. Dude, that is nice, nice stuff. All right, last thing on this, and then we got to go. Thumbnail, please. Folks have been asking, you know, how would it go against Khabib Nurmagomedov? And the answer is, I don't know. I looked at Justin Gaethje's takedown defense rate. It's 80%. He's been taken down twice. Let me show you how unimpressive the takedowns are. Go back to the thing here. He got taken down in the Michael Johnson fight. This is the takedown. Ready? First round, 30 seconds left. Michael Johnson lands a hellacious right hand. Now, the right hand is nice, and it hurts Gaethje. Look at that. It buckles him bad, okay? And then you see Michael Johnson swarm him. But look at the takedown. He just gets up underneath a hurt opponent and does an outside trip and then just secures top position. That's it. And then look, even hurt, he'll go to his wrestling base, and then he'll stand, just like this, right? God damn it. There's your one takedown. That's one takedown. Here's your other takedown. It happened against Eddie Alvarez. I wouldn't even count this as a takedown, but Fight Metric does. He shoots, he can't get it, You can see all the way, Gaethje drops to a knee. So Eddie Alvarez beats the arm quite wisely and gets behind him, right? And this is, by the way, deep into the third round. He gets stopped about a minute later. So you've beaten on this guy a lot at this point. Like, you've invested physical damage, right? And then he just comes around and trips him and then controls him here. But look, he can't last it. He tries to take the back and secure the arm. Gaethje rolls with it, tries to get the high hips, puts the leg inside, turns back into him like this, and then gets out of it and spins out just like that. So, like, this is my point about this. It's like, how would he do against Khabib Nurmagomedov? Dude, I don't know. I have no idea. If it lasted on the feet, I'm guessing Gaethje would win. Those are the only 2 times he's been taken down in the octagon, and they look nothing like what Khabib could do. So you basically have one of 2 decisions you have to make. One, you think it looked like this, and Gaethje would pound him out, or you think, okay, well, as good as Alvarez and as good as Michael Johnson might be, they don't have Khabib Nurmagomedov wrestling, and I would agree that they don't. But he would have to do it. One last thing on this, and this is the point I really wanted to make. I asked Fight Metric about this. Ready? So here's the deal with this. People have said, oh, Khabib could just control him. You know what's gone down in the UFC? Finishes from ground and pound. Finishes. They still happen, but they're much rarer. Here is what they tell me from Fight Metric. Starting in 2012, the annual percentage of total KO, TKO, stemming from ground strikes has fluctuated between 16 and 26%. Prior to 2012, it was 32%. In 2010, it was 46%, and it's since plummeted. Now, they've added some women's divisions and some lower weight classes, so that had something to do with it. But here's the deal: submission accuracy is up. 2015, it was 2015 it was 30%. 2016, 29. 2017, 27. 2018, 29. Sort of holding steady in that 30% range. Here's the point being: Khabib Nurmagomedov's style is efficient for winning fights, but it's not efficient for putting people away. It's not really good for that. So you got to control that guy for all that time, or find a way to submit him, something no one's ever done. It's a crazy thing to consider. How would he do against all that kind of stuff? I don't really know. No one really knows, because Khabib would have to do to him what no one's done. Conversely, he would have to do to Khabib something that no one else has done. You could say Gleison Tibau did it, but Gleison Tibau didn't really hurt him. It would be a highly interesting matchup, He's got a style to control, but not to put away, although he can put people away sometimes with a submission. But the ground and pound itself, you wouldn't really get a whole lot with that. He's going to be hard to finish a ground and pound. You have to do something else. But can you do something else against the guy no one's ever done that to before? You get the idea. Okay, put the thumbnail up. So there you are. Thanks to Fight Metric for all that. I had a little too much to go through. Always remember, kids, what's the lesson here? Justin Gaethje wins in boxing range. Gripping is important. And that's the Monday Morning Analyst.